Yo, what's good? Cyrus here. We're going to do a first date type of breakdown of the 2024 Libertarian Party candidates. I say first date just because it's just a big overview. It takes a little bit of time for me to get to know somebody, and I don't know any of them very well. I will need to crowdsource the truth. If you know them, please let me know in the chat what you think about these candidates. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. I do want to say that if anybody wants to run for president, that is a level of courage that is well beyond anything that I have shown. And if I have criticism, I won't have much criticism today because I just want to give an overview. But if I do eventually, and I have of even people like Comic Dave Smith, even though I agree with him on 99% of the stuff, I still want to make sure it's respectful. Even Redacted came in. Redacted said, I learned my lesson with Gary Johnson in 2016, and I'm still kicking myself, even with Gary Johnson. What is Aleppo? I'm sorry, that's old. That's old. That's old and played out. What is Aleppo? But yeah, you learned your lesson with that. But I think, at least from these candidates, they seem pretty decent. So from first glance. Broken Traditions going on Ray Studios tomorrow. Check that out. The homie Ray Studios over on Rumble. Check it out. I believe you can find it if you just search Ray Studios on Rumble. Or Ray, if you can put the link in there. I don't know if it lets you do links. Let me see if I can. You know what, Ray? I got to make you like a moderator or something. I think you'll be able to post links. So we'll fix that. Toy Mafia, what's good? Great friend of the show. So I did on Middle Mag, I wrote, and when I say wrote, through ChatGPT and research. So what I do is I went through even one of them for Joshua Smith. He was on Timcast. And I took the whole Timcast episode, dumped it to a text file, transcript of the whole episode, and then broke down just his positions and took his positions from his website and then did an article. So that's how I kind of crowdsource this stuff. Everything, there might need to be some tweaking, so let me just prep you on that. And I'm still learning their name, so if I mispronounce the name or anything like that, just let me know. Let's go to the middlemaga.com blog, and then I'll go through these candidates. First candidate right here is Michael Rechtenwald. I have never heard of him in my life. I think some of them I have kind of followed because on X it shows you, like if you follow Comic Dave Smith, it says, well, you might want to follow these other people too. So some of them, I was like, damn, I didn't even realize I'd already followed some of them. Him, I don't think I had. Only seen all today, I've been looking at these 6 guys. I don't know if there's anybody else other than these 6. These are the 6 I've been looking at. And he's the first one this is the order I actually looked at him from. Michael Rechtenwald. Number 2, Mike Termott. And I know that last name. Well, I recognize the last name from actually ancient Egyptian. I forget the detail. I actually took a class on ancient Egyptology back in the day, and I forget basically everything I took. But that's a female goddess, actually, that it's actually pronounced Ma'at. But Mike Termott, and then also Jacob Hornberger. We'll get into him as well. Then we got Lars Mapstead, Chase Olivers, who we already knew from running for Senate in Georgia. So I guess I did kind of know him a little bit. I've seen Lars around. I don't know them well, though. So, and then Joshua Smith is probably the one I knew the most because I had at least seen him on Timcast. And I don't know. Joshua Smith is the one that resonates with me the most. So I'm trying to think, should I just start with Joshua Smith? I think just start with Joshua Smith, actually. I'm going to start with Joshua Smith. Joshua Smith is the one that resonated with me the most. When I looked at the standard positions of Joshua Smith, I was like, based, 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 based. I went to his website, and that, X is the way to go, to find out like what's your presence on X and stuff like that. And you could find out, hey, what do you think on this? And, hot topics and things like that. So let me go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to bring up Joshua Smith's account on X just to go over that a little bit, then go into the article here. And I'm looking at other candidates outside. I'm pretty big on that. I'm not against Donald Trump, of course. He would be from the major candidates. And I hate saying that, but that's the reality. There's major candidates. I hate saying viable candidates, but of those candidates, Donald Trump is obviously the best. How many are there? There's just really two. If you want to look at viable candidates, it's really just Donald Trump and whoever the Democrats choose, right? I mean, there's really, Mike Pence dropped out. We don't get much of a choice as far as viable, if you want to use that term. I got to think of a better term than that. I hate that term. It's almost, I want to think of a term. This is something I would use ChatGPT for. I would tell ChatGPT, I don't like the term viable candidate. Actually, I might do that now. I don't like that term. I'm just going to do a working. This one might just be a working session for sure with this live. So I'll be looking at your chats and everything else. But I want to do that. I'm going to tell ChatGPT, I want new description for major politician candidates, major political candidates. I'm going to say, I believe that Trump and Biden, don't worry about the spelling, it doesn't need it. Trump and Biden are Trump and whomever the Dems choose are the realistic candidates. But that's only because we have an ignorant populace. Help me come up with a new term instead of viable candidate. So I really don't like that because it almost gives them too much credit. I want something that not discredits them, but accurately describes what's happened. Perceived contender. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Based on your outlook, creating a new phrase to replace viable candidate can indeed cast a fresh perspective on political discourse. Based on your outlook that the notion of viability is tethered to public ignorance, perhaps the phrase perceived contender would encapsulate the gist of your opinion. This phrase suggests that the candidacy is perceived to be substantial or legitimate by the masses, possibly due to limited awareness or exposure to other potentially better options. The term contender infuses the competitive angle while perceived gently nudges at the notion of subjectivity and potentially flawed public perception. Okay, I'm just going to say, give me 10 more ideas. So when they say ChatGPT is just a glorified Google, I don't agree with that. I understand what they're saying because to answer these questions, all it is doing is basically searching the internet or its database for responses to it that would make sense. But to me, this is well beyond being able to call it just a souped up Google. I mean, that's just, so here, presumed nominee, I don't like that. Perceptual front runner, no, some bad one. Projected poll sitters, public's pick, publicly favored aspirant, mainstream hopeful, nope. I like this. I like this phrase, perceived contender. So you've got these perceived contenders. Jordan Lott, we knew Jordan Lott, if you were available, good to see you. You please provide the insight, any insight you have. Jordan says, yo, a libertarian night. Heck yeah. Let's go. Dave freaking Libertarian Smith. Let's freaking go. Dave's not running. I actually have not been able, I have not read or heard exactly why he's not running. I haven't listened to Part of the Problem. You're going to be very disappointed in me and Jordan. I just haven't had a chance to listen to it in a minute. No, I have had a chance, but then the Gaza stuff came up, and Nick Fuentes to me was the best on it so far. I'm sure Comic Dave Smith is great. I've heard his comments on it. He's great, but Nick was hot, so I haven't listened to Nick in a minute. So I was covering the Gaza stuff, and then I got on some other things. So I haven't listened to Dave in a while. And he announced this a while back, so he's not. But he's going to come up when I talk about Joshua Smith, though. Politicians with most money. That's a good one, Jordan. That's a good one. That one hits to the heart of it. That's even better than perceived contender. That's a great one, and it's obvious. I mean, it should have been. Now that you mentioned it, it's obvious. I didn't come up with it. Jordan Lott says that he likes Chase Oliver and Joshua Smith. Those candidates are pretty good. I said Joshua Smith resonated. Like, the one who I would really want is Larry Sharp. Larry Sharp is sharp as a tack. I mean, that dude is. He pops out at you when he starts talking. That's the thing that you kind of like for someone who's going to be running in that party. And the perception from the public is that they don't have a chance. So you're going to want somebody that at least can articulate the foundation of liberty and their positions. And Joshua Smith, I don't think he goes by Josh. I think he goes by Joshua, but so I'm going to call him Joshua Smith. And let's start there. Going to his Twitter account just to visit and pop around to get to know Josh Smith. Revolution, Joshua Smith for president 2024. Already got some good feedback here from Jordan Lott in the chat. And this is Joshua Smith from Break the Cycle. I think that's the name of his podcast. I'm just catching up to all this stuff here. But let's take a listen to, this is a first date. I know I've played kind of these intros things for a lot of politicians, and I gotta give the chat credit. They come at me like I don't need this generic intro or anything like that. Because we got a lot of critical thinkers, smart people up in this chat. But, I like to start here anyway. Let's see what they like to. And even if the content is kind of predictable maybe, or it's not as creative. I'm not going to say that about Joshua's, but just in general, when you see like an announcement type of ad, you still can get an idea of creativity, budget, that kind of stuff. Let's take a look. Joshua Smith for president.
America, land of the free and home of the brave. What does that mean to you? What do you think about when you hear it? Is it a 250-year-old hard-fought revolution for freedom and independence? Do you think of the founding fathers penning words that would forevermore see a nation and its people free of tyranny? Is it 4th of July barbecues and time with your family? Is it your right to peacefully speak your mind without fear of violent repercussion? Is it perhaps a republic of the represented, led by public servants who listen to the will of its people? Or is it whatever this bullshit is? We're in a downward spiral of insanity. Forever wars, inflation, constant attacks on our natural rights by the very people that campaign on protecting them, and petty tyrants around every corner looking to use the crushing weight of the federal government to strip you of your personhood for wrongthink. Enough already. My name's Joshua Smith, and I'm running for president of the United States of America. I'm running on a radical platform to end the wars, end the Fed, and restore some sanity to this once great nation. We are fed up with lifelong politicians who legislate policy that hurts Americans in their pocket, in their livelihood, and in their property. We need a drastic overhaul of the status quo. I am under no illusion that the powers that be will allow me into the White House. We may not win, but together, we can send a message to Washington. that most of us are fed up with the constant barrage of filth they shove down our throats in D.C. We can challenge lifelong politicians for their long-held positions of power. We can make the powerful elite change their position on policy. We can be loud enough to disrupt the corporate news media and their agenda to weaken America. Together with the 61% of the population who was so fed up they didn't even cast a vote for president in 2016. We can make the changes that give us the power back. Let's take our frustrations to the ballot box in 2024 and send a message that we're ready to opt out of the status quo. Enough already. My name's Joshua Smith, and I'm running for president. I'm ready to fight back. Are you?
There you have it, Joshua Smith, and the website is joshuasmith2024.com. And he's going with the realistic approach. I think all of them are, if I'm not mistaken. What I mean by that is, when I talk about the Libertarian Party, a lot of people say that they're not the perceived contenders. They're not the big money, like Jordan Lott said. So they don't have a chance to win. And he's up there saying, hey, I may not win. So basically saying, I'm not gonna go up there and not try to win, but I understand the odds. But let's make a mark. And that's basically what Comic Dave Smith was hinting up until when he announced he wasn't gonna run. Where he was basically like, it's about spreading the message and setting the groundwork for future libertarians. Comic Dave Smith was going for the long term. Looks like Joshua Smith is doing the same thing. Eric Smith, what's good? Stop in the chat. Eric Smith says, I like the ad and wars at the Fed, but what does a drastic overhaul look like? Yes, there's these are the intros. It's almost like it's like the first date. You don't know. I have a little bit deeper deep dive, but really, honestly, following people on X is one of the best because you can see their thoughts day by day, and you really get to know where they're at from that platform. Because there's no point in having an account on X if you're not reacting to real news in real time, so you can see exactly what they really are like. So thanks for stopping by, Eric Smith, good friend of the show. Ray Suya says, how about my ninja candidates? You know what I mean when I say ninja, my nigga candidates? Who's that, Ray? Oh, you talking about the black dude? You talking about that dude that was like niggas for Trump? That was funny. I think that's what you talked about. Let's look a little bit more at Josh Smith. This is via the middlemaga.com blog, as I was showing here. Let me get that up. So if you go to the middlemaga.blog, you'll see a bunch of articles. And let's go down to, I just took these pictures from their Twitter sites. And then this is Joshua Smith. Here's a little overview. He's a member of the Libertarian Party. He served in leadership roles within the party and has been vocal about his vision for America. Like I mentioned, he was on Timcast. If you go, just search Timcast Joshua Smith in YouTube, you'll find it. I found it. He emerges as a compelling figure advocating for a different path. So we're going to talk about a little bit. It's not really in-depth, but it's just like an overview. His affiliation with the Libertarian Party is more than just a label. It's a commitment to a set of principles. He aims for a 5% vote. This is the realistic option that I've talked about. He's looking for a 5% vote share to elevate the Libertarian Party to national major party status, a move that would revolutionize the American political arena. This would grant the party equal treatment alongside Republicans and Democrats, including participation in national debates. Even that is a lofty goal. In this environment, I think that's a fair goal. I think that's a fair goal to reach. I don't have a problem with that. That's something to aspire to. Economics of freedom. His economic philosophy is rooted in the principles of free market capitalism. He vehemently opposes the too big to fail mentality that's led to government bailouts. That's a big, big, big problem. And we talk about war right now. And that's the hidden part of these wars, is that there's a never-ending money supply. And whenever these big companies, these big banks fail, they get paid out as well. So on the middle class, the regular person gets hit on both ends, no matter what. We're in peacetime. The big banks fail. They get bailed out. We're in peacetime. Well, let's start a war. And Biden's looking for billions. It's going to take billions to get even just Hamas out of what, 140 square miles? Billions, because all the Muslims around there are united. So it's good to hear that ties into everything that's happening in the country. He proposes a radical overhaul of the American tax system. His administration would eliminate all federal income taxes, including payroll, capital gains, and estate taxes. The government would then be funded through user fees for specific services and voluntary crowdfunding. How much money are you going to volunteer to get to the government? This approach challenges the very foundation of the federal government, arguing the very foundation of the federal government revenue collection, arguing that if the government cannot sustain itself without forced taxation, it doesn't deserve to exist. I agree completely. You can see how he resonates very well. And the way that he articulates these issues, it's easy for me to digest. Social liberties and the elephant in the room is Comic Dave Smith. I get it. I mean, Comic Dave Smith is one of the best at articulating this stuff, but he's not in the race. So right now, I think you got to look at who's in the race and who's the best at articulating this that's in the race. And maybe that's just me, but for me, it's always that elephant in the room is Comic Dave Smith. So the other Smith, Joshua Smith, takes a strong stance on issues related to gender and mental health. He criticizes the current approach to gender-affirming care, particularly for children. He calls for a reevaluation of mental health care in the U.S., advocating for a system that helps. I'm actually very interested in this. This is very overview, but when we look at the tragedies, like we just had the mass shooting event tragedy, mental health always plays a role. Mental health is an issue in all of them, and it's not an easy issue. Even when you tackle it from a mental health standpoint, it is not easy, because there's a lot of people diagnosed with mental health issues that should have the right to. I mean, right now, the Second Amendment does not cut out for mental health. So if you are free, you have the right to keep and bear arms, and it should not be regulated by the government. I don't care what anybody says. It's not in the Second Amendment. We are allowing people to make cutouts for these amendments that don't exist. It's not there. If you want to amend it, you can. You can argue for it, but it's not there. I don't care if you have PTSD. You should still have access to a gun. And there doesn't cut out for drug issues. It doesn't cut out for felons. There's no cutout there. And for the mental part, how do you diagnose it? What is the mental issue that prevents you from owning a gun? If you say that you like President Donald Trump, you do realize that probably 25% of the country would consider you as having a mental issue. If you like the Libertarian Party, probably 25% of the country would, and judges included. I mean, who's deciding this stuff? It's the same thing as terrorists. It's the same thing as these other labels. Mental health becomes just this arbitrary thing. Nate's meme says, government taxes your paycheck, your property, everything you buy and everything you sell that you already paid taxes on. What the F happened to no taxation without representation? What happened is they pacified us. Government's very smart, and they play chess, and I didn't realize. I just woke up the last 3 years, so I'm not going to be out here acting like everybody's some dodo head for not waking up. I'm almost 46. So, yeah, I think they did. I think they go ahead and they use different psychological tactics to keep us pacified. We are not like they were built back in you want to talk about 1776? We're not built like how they were back then. Back then you had, I mean, you look at the founding fathers, they obviously didn't do it by themselves, but they were rich, well off. They could have easily said, hey, let's just stay under British rule. I can keep my paper. I'm comfortable. I mean, these are highly well off. We don't have those people. We don't have those people. Donald Trump, you could argue Donald Trump. What did Donald Trump really get running for president? You could argue Donald Trump is one of those types. So let me take that back. You could make that case. Because he's getting hemmed up 4 times arrest. He never had any type of problems with the law before. So yeah, you can put Donald Trump in there, but there's not many like that. So we don't really have, and what I mean by that is leaders who lead the way. And even Donald Trump, I mean, he's sacrificed a lot, but he's not. I mean, he's Israel first, so he's not perfect. He's MAGA, not MAGA. So, but I still have to be grateful for what he did. What does that mean by criticizing current approach to gender affirming care? I would like it better if you were under 18. You can't transition. Why didn't he say that? Let me look at that a little bit more. Well, let me just go to his website because I pulled that from his website. So let me just go there so I don't want to misconstrue his take on it. That's a fair question by Eric Smith in the chat there. Let me take a look. Joshua Smith, let's go to the website real quick. Joshua Smith has on his website this section that breaks down, your typical section where you break down stuff. And I appreciate that. So Joshua Smith on the issues. Let me stop sharing this and then let's share that screen and let's look at that together real quick. I kind of skipped over that. So that was not a full breakdown of his position. So let's see here, because I kind of get tired of it talking about that now. But it's still important. But is it child protection? Okay. So this is it here. Let's see what he says. Let me wrap it around, make it big. What are we talking about here? Gender affirming care. This is straight from his website. Gender affirming care, he puts it in quotes because it sounds like he doesn't necessarily agree with that phrasing, would consist of helping individuals who are in crisis come to terms with reality. Like all other unrealistic mental health crises, adults have the right to do whatever they want with their bodies. So I fully agree. 18 or older, you do what you do. But pushing children, I'm even more, I don't want to say more libertarian. I disagree with this part, I think. He says, but pushing children who cannot consent towards permanent life-altering drugs and permanent mutilating surgeries instead of real mental health for a trendy profit should be a crime. I don't agree with that. When children have surgeries all the time, what do you mean they cannot consent? They consent through their guardians. And I don't know what some states have one person. I think for any gender affirming care, I don't care if there's a split custody. You must have, if there's 2 parents involved, you must have consent of both guardians, period. It's got to be solid. There can't be an argument between, it's the mother, the biological mother and father. So if you have a divorce or whatever, I think you've got to have the biological mother and biological father, unless they opt out or whatever, they've got to agree both on the surgery. That's just my opinion. I don't know the law on that, and I think that should be the law. But I disagree. Children can consent through their parents. Just for me on that, and a medical doctor. So you can't consent to drinking alcohol because the doctor's not going to prescribe it. It's consent. Children get surgeries all the time through consent of their parents. There's no surgery that, to my knowledge, that a doctor does without getting consent from a person in charge, the parent. Your doctor can't say, well, I think your child needs this surgery. I'm going to do it regardless of what you say, because the child wants to or the child doesn't. So I disagree with that one, but it's not any type of make or break. There's not a lot of people who have the take that I do, believe it or not. I haven't heard many people who have that my take. Let's see. And then after I finish this, I'll go back see what Eric Smith thinks. Permanent mutilation. Doctors and therapists who use their positions to prescribe and schedule children for these permanent life-changing treatments should be prosecuted under federal law after that code for child sex trafficking. I do not agree with that at all. I think that it's not that's definitely not going to be a make or break for me supporting Joshua Smith, but that is not my position. I do not agree. This is, if you want to, I mean, if you're really talking about liberty, that's handled in the courts through not malpractice, but no, if they consent, it's a wrap. If there's something that went wrong in the surgery, you could still do malpractice, but it would be like would it be just civil suit, basically. I like that better. Clears a fight. Yep. Thanks, Eric. I kind of skipped over it, so that wasn't like his fault. I kind of skipped over it because I've started talking about it, which is not a good reason, so I apologize. Future of education. Smith's views on education are unequivocal. The Department of Education should be abolished. Yes, sir. He argues that the department has failed to improve educational outcomes despite a quadrupling of spending money. Yep, we've talked about that since the 80s. It's unbelievable. What a big waste of money and time that whole thing has been. It's all just for federal control. Federal government doles out money, just like we saw with Joe Biden, said you have to do whatever type of agreement with the rainbow flag or I'm not going to give you money. It's just power. Instead, Smith believes in empowering parents and students through school choice, allowing schools to compete for students based on cost and curriculum quality. That is the best way to go. A new foreign policy. Smith's military experience informs his foreign policy views. He condemns the forever wars that have cost thousands of American and foreign lives. Thousands. It's been millions. Advocating for the closure of international bases and an end to U.S. involvement in foreign civil wars. His administration would focus on domestic issues, cutting foreign aid, and prioritizing American citizens. Accountability and transparency. Doesn't shy away from holding powerful entities accountable. Plans to launch a full investigation into the federal. Can you believe we haven't had that? Have we not had a full investigation of the COVID stuff? Wow. And advocating for the prosecution for crimes against humanity. End the Fed. He advocates for the abolition of the Fed, arguing that Americans have the right to free and fair trade. Absolutely. And that's Joshua Smith's vision for America. I'm going to go a little bit into, I saw that there was an interaction here, and I got to get more into the Libertarian Twitter side. For some reason, the algorithm, maybe because I have MAGA, I don't know, the algorithm keeps me out of the, believe it or not. I follow a lot of them. The algorithm keeps me out. I have to go get them. I have to go get this stuff. Let me share this interaction with Comic Dave Smith from Joshua Smith. So this, Joshua Smith said, I bet that if Dave and company had helped me instead of using these talking points and trying to play kingmaker right away, my populist message would be cooking with grease right now, and we would all be vibing and accomplishing what we set out to accomplish in 2024. And he's saying that he got a poll, not many people in the poll, but he's winning. I can see that. From an internet standpoint, he's clearly the standout type of dude, I would say. But so he said he bets that if they had helped him instead of using these talking points. What talking points is he referring to? I'm sorry, I don't even know what he's talking about. Comic Dave Smith, that's an autistic. Let me see. What are we talking about here? That's a cringe take. This person asked Comic Dave Smith, why not remain neutral? What the hell? He doesn't have to. If he doesn't want to remain neutral, he doesn't have to. Kind of from a libertarian side, that's a really bad take. And there's some type of talking point he was referring to. I don't know what he was referring. Okay, let me Is that Hop? I don't know who that is. You're missing the point. Josh is running on that being his strength. Oh, okay. Here, this is worth getting into. This is worth getting into. Let me see where it stopped. They're talking about the Tim Cast episode here. Okay, so then this person replied to Comic Dave Smith, I think the most disappointing part is when you parroted word for word Michael Heiss is who they're referring to, summary of Josh's performance on Timcast. I didn't see anybody's reaction to Joshua Smith's performance on Timcast, and I'm not gonna knock any. Like I said, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but I can see how he didn't pop out of the screen. It's like you're watching a football game or something like that. Did the running back, did the wide out, did the point guard, and it was just one game though. So I don't know. I'm just following him now. And it wasn't that he didn't, I'm talking for myself. I don't know what they said. It wasn't that he did bad. It was just like, it just didn't pop out of the screen. The first time I didn't know who Larry Sharp was. It's Larry Sharp, right? I keep messing up their names for some reason. Let me double check. Y'all think I'm crazy. It's Larry Sharp with an E. Yeah, Larry Sharp is that dude, man. He's he ran for governor of New York. I think he should run for president. Oh, I'd be all aboard that dude. But that's what I mean. He just jumped out of your screen. I really didn't even know much about libertarians, I don't think, at that point. I had just seen Comic Dave Smith on Timcast, but the first time I saw Larry Sharp on Timcast, I was like, damn! This dude reminded me of like Andrew Yang has great ideas as bitch-made as he is. This dude was like, he broke it down. And the thing I liked about Larry Sharp is he spread the idea of liberty without saying liberty. He didn't have to even say I'm a libertarian. And I think he even said on the show, he's like, I don't even tell people I'm a libertarian. I just spread the ideas. I'm like, based. That's one of my favorite libertarians for sure. Larry Sharp, but that's the part, and you're competing against some of the best people out here. Like when you're running for president, even though Comic Dave Smith isn't running for president, you're still kind of competing against him. You're almost like Comic Dave's like, and whenever he's on Timcast, it's like a special moment. It's like a special episode. I mean, like you watch the episode and you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time because he's so knowledgeable and then has the kind of charisma, and he's a comedian too, which is just makes for great stuff. And then Scott Horton was on, and Scott Horton jumps off the screen. He's a libertarian too, and he jumps off the screen at you. And so it's not even anything against Joshua Smith. It's just like, you almost like, well, why doesn't Scott Horton run for president? Or why doesn't Michael Malice run for president? Or I don't even know if he would be eligible. He's born in a different country, right? Was he born in Ukraine? I forget. But I still like him. And why doesn't Comic Dave Smith run for president? And I'm biased, but why doesn't Eric July run for president? But no, he's got a comic industry to save. He wouldn't say that. I'm saying that. Barton Bella, what's good? I'm just picking a random comment. I didn't even see this yet. Yes, but in today's world of Trump-style BS entertainment politic movements, governing like a boss isn't good enough. You don't have to have principles. You just have to entertain. Yeah, it's part of it. And Barton, I know you're a DeSantis supporter. I used to be a DeSantis, somewhat supporter. And the lack of entertainment, it matters. I mean, it just does. It matters at that level, matters at all levels. And it shouldn't, it should be substance. It really should. But that's just the way it works. Nothing you can really do about that. But Comic Dave Smith has the package. You've got people who've got the whole pause. You've got people who've got the whole deal going on. So that's the problem. Scott Horton, man, you can go on Twitter right now and see pops of Scott Horton, like people sharing his stuff, and that's not going to happen from a Joshua Smith on there. And that's no diss. I mean, it's not easy to do, man. These are the best of the best you're talking about. I think one of the most, so this person said Comic Dave Smith just copied what Michael Heiss said. That's a weird take to me. Comic Dave Smith is not a dude that just copies somebody else's take. If you don't, I don't know if this person knows him or what, but that's just not I've never heard anybody accuse Comic Dave Smith of copying somebody else's take. I want to believe that you actually sat down and watched Josh on Timcast for 3 hours and were sharing your own personal conclusion, but my gut says no. Yeah, that's a bad take. Dave said, I didn't watch the whole thing. I think I watched about the first hour. I don't parrot heist. That's ridiculous. You missed a lot of great parts of it then. I'd recommend going back and checking the rest of it out. See, here's the thing, though. You don't really have to. I saw the whole thing. I didn't know who he was. And this was a while back. But really, you don't have to. You don't have to see any of it to really comment from this standpoint. I'm not seeing a lot of like sharing clips or anything like that from it. Either that happened or it didn't happen. And maybe he was great on it and something happened. I don't know, but that's the bottom line. So that before using the first segment of Timcast episode, which we all know the guests are at least involved to denigrate someone for a political advantage. What I don't even understand that. Is there something I'm missing there? Suspect of any ostensible libertarian that feels the need to watch every minute of Timcast. No, that it matters. I mean, what's a bigger platform that a libertarian's going to get than Timcast? There's no bigger platform anywhere. I mean, Fox News isn't having you on for 2.5 hours. I mean, that's being on for a libertarian candidate to be on Timcast, as far as the internet goes, that's the biggest thing. And for libertarians, you gotta be a beast on the internet. You're trying to get younger voters to keep your party momentum going forward, and you're not going to get a fair shake anywhere else. Even with the algorithm being crappy against you, where else are you going to get it? Now you have to be in the streets, just like Dr. Siva Adore and other. You got to be in the streets, and he is. I think they are, but. That was the debate there. So then they went back and forth on that. So you saw, this is where I started it. And then that's where he said, well, I bet if Dave and company had helped me. So he's almost saying like, hey, if you would have helped me, probably sharing clips or anything in general. But then Comic Dave Smith has a point. He said, wait, so if I supported you, I would be helping. But if I support someone else, then I'm trying to play kingmaker? Maybe the question should be, why isn't your message cooking with grease without me? If you have such a great populist message, why isn't your podcast blowing up? So you see, what Common Dave Smith is saying. Impressiveness of winning a small Twitter poll, you posted aside. So Comic Dave Smith is doing his most gracious diss of Joshua Smith there. And Comic Dave Smith has a point. I like Joshua Smith's overall, positions, but you can't, that's not a good look to me to be like, I bet if Dave and company had helped me. No, what you need to do is become a force of nature. You need to become a force of nature where you don't need their help or they basically have no choice but to help you. That's how this politics thing works. That's why everybody likes Dave Smith. Dave Smith understands that. He's talked about that. So he's not just good policy-wise. He knows like how to get this done. He was a part of the Mises Caucus that took over the LP. That's how they did it. They didn't ask anybody outside the LP, Mises Caucus to help them. They became that force of nature that was unstoppable. It was like a tsunami. Ain't nobody going to stop it. Ain't nobody need to help this. It will come and take over. So that's not good. I don't like that, Joshua Smith. You don't want to do that. You want to be the force of nature. And then the other thing is, Comic Dave Smith has a lot of supporters, a lot of people who respect his position. So I don't know the history here, but to me, it's almost like DeSantis going at Trump. Like, you got to be really, I will go at Trump very targeted. when I go at Trump. Like I'll go at Trump on Israel now. That's when I went on Trump on the debate stuff. I go on Trump where I know I got pretty much. It's going to be hard to beat my argument on. There is no argument for Donald Trump. There is no logical argument for Donald Trump not debating. You can say, well, I think he's up ahead in the polls. What the hell does a poll mean? And he works for us. I want him to be spreading the ideas of populism on that stage. There's no good argument against that. So I take those because he's popular and I like him. So it's not like I have to do hard to find the targeted things that I just disagree with. So if you're gonna go at Dave Smith, it's got to be more solid than that. That doesn't work for me. But at the same time, I don't know how new his podcast is, Joshua Smith's. So for Dave to say, why isn't your message cooking with grease? Maybe there are some libertarian podcasts that are popping off that I don't know about, but I don't know if that's a good gauge. The people that I see popping off are people who've been doing it for 10 plus years. Maybe somebody tell me, is there somebody new? Because Comic Dave Smith was like, well, why isn't your podcast, Joshua Smith, why isn't your podcast popping off more? And my take is kind of like, I don't know if that's a good gauge. So there's the interaction there. I thought that was interesting. That's Joshua Smith. The other ones won't take nearly as long. He was the big one, so I'm glad I did that one first. Can you talk about other candidates now? Yes, let's go over to other candidates now. And the other ones won't take as long to me. So let's start with Michael Rechtenwald. And I'll go over here. My first thought on him was, I don't know if he has the presence that I would like to see. I don't know if he's going to be able to cut through the noise. But substance-wise, you've got an interesting story here. He actually came from the left. In recent years, political landscape has witnessed the emergence of diverse ideological voices striving to be heard. One of them is Dr. Michael Rechtenwald, a former Marxist and professor at New York University who has since become a vehement libertarian, shedding his erstwhile ideologies in favor of individual liberty and free market economics. His political journey commenced around 2016 when the tremors of social justice ideologies, identitarianism is what we're talking about here, rippled through academic campuses, invoked his concern. His critique of these ideologies, however, was met with a backlash that inadvertently accelerated his ideological evolution. The Marxist found himself gravitating towards libertarianism, a political philosophy rooted in minimizing, as you know, government intervention. So if you want the source for all this stuff, this is on the website. Let's hear a little bit. Let me see if I can get a little bit from him for you here. This is going to be just a little 2-minute clip. Let me see if I can find it here, actually. Of course, I don't have my links ready. Let me get it. I'm going to go to X, and I got it straight from there. So Dr. Michael Rechtenwald, the good thing about these candidates is that they are, everyone that I saw is like they look like they're working. I mean, that's basically all you can ask for from these candidates is to be out there, and it's a grind. So I respect anybody doing this grind. Here's a 2-minute clip of him here so you can hear from his voice. I didn't see a campaign launch, but maybe I just didn't look hard enough. Let's take a listen.
Communism or Marxism is the belief or the theory that the worker is exploited at the point of production, and likewise this surplus value is extracted. Every worker is effectively robbed when they go to work every day. Half of the time that they work is exploited. It's surplus value that's skimmed off, and goes into the capitalist coffers. And the idea is that this creates a class struggle between the proletariat and the ruling class, which in his reading is the capitalist class. And history is the history of this class struggle. And the only way to end this exploitation and class struggle is by the working class to finally wrest power from the capitalist class and to take over the means of production. And likewise, there'll be no more exploitation, and there'll be this socialist society that morphs into communism over time after dictator of the proletariat is established. And then finally, there is a full communism. And that means no property is owned by anybody. Supposedly, there's a collective ownership of the means of production, and likewise of all products. It is very seductive for people that don't think it through long enough or mistake the class structure as Marx does. It's a seductive theory. It duped me for a good while. I actually believed that I had this firm hatred for capitalism and the capitalist class. And I thought that as long as the workers were exploited, we would not have a just society.
So that's a good clip to just get an idea of kind of how he is. And I don't think he has the presence for me, so it's probably pretty much disqualifying. I don't see that would be somebody that I would rally around. But I mean, if he was the choice, then I'm not going to be actively working against somebody who I agree with on stuff. This is from his website. It is Rechtenwald2024.com. That's RECTENWALD 2024.com. I'm on the issues page of his website, and we can just go do that for the rest of them too. He said he's running to wrest power from the corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical federal government and restore it to the people by slashing government spending, taxes. And so that's a pretty standard. Stopping inflation at the source by auditing and abolishing the Federal Reserve. A lot of people just go straight to the abolishing. So it's interesting that he said auditing. I mean, maybe he's just saying, hey, what's realistic? Abolishing politicized and costly agencies and departments that do not have the interests of the average American at heart. Keep in mind, as we're talking about this stuff, half the battle is stretching the Overton window. The Federal Reserve is not going to be ended if we don't talk about ending the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is not going to be audited unless we talk about ending the Federal Reserve. You've got to stretch it as far as you can where you're peaceful. And I would say legal too. So that's where you want to see that go. Keeping the peace by opposing all but defensive wars. That's interesting. What war is a defensive war that we're in right now? Maybe that's a future war that would be a defensive war. I don't think we're in any defensive wars right now. So I probably would have worded that differently. Promoting vigorous use of the 10th Amendment to nullify all unconstitutional federal laws. I believe that's the one that says everything that's not in the Constitution goes to the states, if I'm not mistaken. The states created the federal government. They are not owned by it. Let me see. Let me read that again. Promoting vigorous use of the 10th Amendment to nullify all unconstitutional federal laws. Okay, that's decentralization. Refusing all COVID emergency mandates. Yep. Eliminating government intelligence agencies. Ending the use of DEI. Ending government involvement in the ESG scam. That's good that he mentioned that. So there's Dr. Michael Rechtenwald. And you can tell the presence that the guys have is pretty important, because a lot of the substance is pretty similar. Barton Bella says, we have to stop allowing our military to be used to just protect corporate power. Absolutely. Trump 2024. Hello, fellow election deniers. What's up? That's what we are now, election deniers. I'm for damn sure an election denier. Proud, too. Proud of it. Let's go to the next. On to the next one. This next one is Mike Termott. Mike Termott. I don't know much or anything about Mike Tarot. Really don't know much about Mike Tarot. If you know Mike Tarot, let me know in the chat. Let everybody know in the chat. I might miss it because I'm trying to do two things at one time. But here's Mike Tarot, Libertarian candidate. His approach to immigration policies is one of hands-on and understanding and engagement. His journey to the border crossing at NACO, if that's pronounced NACO, Arizona, was a venture into the heart of the dilemma. So he actually took a trip down there where the interplay of federal policies, local concerns, and individual aspirations are most palpable by interacting with local Arizonans, libertarians, and law enforcement experts. Tarot sought to obtain a multifaceted understanding of the immigration issue that goes beyond partisan rhetoric. The issue of criminal justice reform is not alien to Tarot. Tamat, who, with a background in law enforcement, harbors deep concerns about the prevailing issues of poverty, crime, segregation, and fear within the American society. His advocacy for substantial reforms within the criminal justice system underscores the necessity for a fair treatment for all Americans, regardless of their socioeconomic or racial backgrounds. And if you hear that noise in the background, that's just my furnace. So let's look at Mike Tarot. I'm going to just play a couple if you want to hear from these candidates. I actually didn't play anything. Yeah, I played the intro thing for Joshua Smith. Let's look at Mike Tarot. And I had a clip that was just a couple minutes here. Just I think this is his. Let me see which clip I have here. If it's his launch video or what it is. No, this is not his launch video. This is just him talking about bodily autonomy, of Americans' bodily autonomy. And this is Mike Tarot.
Has neither the constitutional nor the ethical authority to impose any mandate on your personal health care, not masks, not vaccines, not insurance. This is not merely important to me as a libertarian, it should be important to you as an American. The fact that the government has no authority over you to mandate mask wearing is not a matter of science. Even if science could prove that masks worked and that we would die without them, the state still would have no authority to mandate you wearing a mask. Consider the hypothetical case of the decision whether to take a so-called perfect vaccine. Imagine proven total efficacy, complete eradication of transmissibility, zero side effects, and certain death for those who didn't take the vaccine. Should the state have the authority in this case to force someone to take the vaccine? No, of course not. We need robust and explicit separation of science and state, just like we have a long reverence for the separation of church and state. No government funding or control of scientific research should be tolerated. No government control or censorship of scientific information. No government mandates. No government regulation. No government opinions.
So that's Mike Tarot, Mike Termat, I should say. And the website is Mike, so it's MikeTermaat, MikeTermat.com. I'm on the issues portion of his website. Just wanted to follow back up with the immigration one. I'm still not 100% clear. It sounds like he's open borders, but I don't. That's dangerous just to say somebody's open borders. You could say I'm open borders from the standpoint of my parents are immigrants. I'm for immigration, but legally, let's see. So he says manage legal immigration more humanely, stop human trafficking, encourage work. Immigration is good for America. I don't know if I would say that. It's a pretty strong stance. I don't know if I would phrase it as immigration is good for America. I would say people who believe in Western culture and the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, I think those, no matter where they are in the world, they're good for America. So I don't care what any type of identity as long as you're with that. So I'm probably a little bit different on the immigration issue than him. And he's got a bunch of different stuff on the website there. Actually, I could go back real quick. Let me pick one more thing from him before I go on to somebody else, just so you can get a better idea on him, his issues. Police poverty and criminal justice reform, medical freedom, and the Fed. Pretty standard stuff there. Let's look at what does he mean by police poverty and criminal reform. Let's take a look here and see if we can get some more information. Let's listen to him himself and see what he says here.
Our criminal justice system is an important problem and one that is going to be difficult to reform. Hi, I'm Mike Termott, former Libertarian congressional candidate and former police officer for 11 years in Broward County. The problem that we have now in America is one of a heavy-handed, overbearing, illiberal, authoritarian, government-imposed criminal justice system that's been set up by the majority of Americans at the expense of the civil liberties of the other Americans. Problematic aspects of our system include the most brazenly illegal, what we would consider violations of the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendments, up to and including no-knock warrants and asset forfeiture. It includes the most un-American, qualified immunity, and more generally, the court's deference to law enforcement, to such an extent that it's sometimes difficult for citizens to seek redress when things go wrong. And it includes the most self-damning impediments to transparency and accountability to prevent the system from policing itself, most apparently in the form of union contracts, but I would argue more fundamentally are the result of politicians abdicating their responsibility in the face of opportunity to negotiate for the tools necessary to hold law enforcement accountable.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's not going to cut through. So that's going to be a tough one for Mike Termott. I don't know how you cut through like that. It's very difficult. I don't know if that message resonates. I don't know if it will get new people to the party. I don't see that happening. So, but wish the best to Mike Termott. I keep saying his name. Mike Termott. It's late, Mike. Don't worry. I'll fix that. Mike Termott. Next person is Jacob Hornberger. Jacob Hornberger. And let's take a look at him on X2. Jacob Hornberger had a little bit of a presence on X. Jacob for Liberty is the account. And I'll show it to you right here. Am I showing? Yeah. Am I showing it right now? Yep, there it is. Jacob for Liberty. 2024 candidate. The website is jacobforliberty.com. Let's take a look. I think he has I thought he had an intro. That is kind of weird if they don't put like an intro right up there. I thought he had an intro right there. Let's see what this is here, this video. Okay, so I'm on the website here with a bunch of different stuff. So let me play this because there's a video on the website just so you can hear from Jacob Hornberger.
I'm Jacob Hornberger, Libertarian candidate for president in 2024. Why am I running for president? Because I want to bring an end to the killing machine that the federal government has become under both Democrats and Republicans. We don't know exactly how many people this killing machine has killed in the last 60 or 70 years, but it certainly has to number in the millions. And that's nothing to scoff at. When it comes to this area of killing, there is no doubt that Democrats and Republicans have made America number one. Let's look at some examples. Let's begin with immigration. Every year, there are immigrants who die of asphyxiation in the back of 18-wheelers, tractor trailers, or they die of drowning trying to cross the Rio Grande, such as 25-year-old Oscar Alberto Martinez Ramirez. whose body was found on the American side of the Rio Grande, along with the body of his little tiny toddler daughter. And then you got people dying of thirst crossing lonely deserts in Arizona and New Mexico. Or you got immigrants that die because they've had a bullet fired into their abdomen by some Border Patrol agent. I grew up on the Texas-Mexican border. I spent almost half my life there, and I've seen these deaths ever since I was a kid. In fact, all my life, I've seen this immigration crisis. It's ongoing, it's never ending, it's perpetual. And there's a very simple reason for this. This is a socialist immigration system. It's socialist because it's based on the core socialist principle of central planning. You can ask anybody in Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea what happens with central planning, and they will tell you it comes with crises and chaos. And that's what we've had on this border for decades. Crises and chaos as a direct result of this system. They will also tell you that socialism oftentimes comes with death, as this system has produced. But it comes with more than that. It comes with an immigration police state also, which is what people in the American Southwest have lived under for decades. You've got fixed highway checkpoints where immigration officials stop vehicles and search them, demand to see people's papers, and people have never even entered Mexico. This is inside the United States. You've also got roving Border Patrol checkpoints where the Border Patrol just drives around and stops whoever they want and searches their vehicle. When I was in high school, I was the victim of one of these roving Border Patrol checkpoints. You've got warrantless trespasses and searches of ranches and farms along the border. No search warrant at all. They just go on in.
So that's a little taste of them there. And to continue that conversation on immigration, it actually goes towards he is for open borders. If you go to his website, it says open the borders. And that's probably where he was going to get to. Just didn't have time to finish that. So you can go to his website, jacobforliberty.com, if you want to see the rest of that. He had about 20 minutes breaking down these issues, which I respect. It said abolish the border patrol and ICE on all controls on the free movements of people across the border. So I don't know if you would consider me open border or not, but I'm for decentralizing power. So if a state wants to open their borders, they could, because there would be no central government. So maybe you could call me an open borders person, but if a state, I would say the state would have full control over that. So I'd be fine if the state wanted to close it. California probably would have open borders. I would consider them a different country, though, is what I would. I'm not for the union anymore. So I don't know. Do you call that an open borders take or not? I don't know. But that's Jacob for Liberty's take there. Let's go on to from Jacob Hornberger. We go on to Lars Mapstead, big Bitcoin guy. That's something that you get from Lars right away. And a little bit more of a younger approach, I would say, more modern approach, to put it nicely. Jacob, the problem that Jacob's going to have is I don't know who he's going to resonate with. I don't know how that's going to work through, make through. I don't think that's going to work. When you look at the Mises Caucus, they have come through and they've turned everything upside down. And they're more of a younger organization now. And I think that's where you're gonna have to go that direction. Unrig the System by Lars. Lars24.com is the website. It says unconventional ideas, Friendfinder co-founder, Libertarian presidential candidate, honesty, integrity, common sense, unrig the system. It says follow Lars for president.
What's driving the debt in your mind?
Well, right now, unfortunately, it's really, if you look at it, it's entitlements, because we have the baby boomers are all retiring, And so they're all getting more, what they were promised, right? They were promised that they were going to have all this money to retire on. That's a rigged system also, right? If you really like dive into it, you realize that if we stopped collecting payroll taxes today, in less than 1 year, Social Security and Medicare would be completely broke, right? And so I say America's living paycheck to paycheck right now, off of the workers who are working right now and paying for the retirees. And that system was set up by the government, and they promise people things. And a lot of people, I think, if you talk to people about Social Security, they say, that's my money. I paid for it. My money should be there, but your money's not there. Right. And so we're literally living off these, and it's a Ponzi scheme, right? That's the definition of a Ponzi scheme, is you're borrowing money from these guys to pay off these people. And at some point, that's going to come crashing down. And if you look at the projections, I don't know where we get all that money to pay for all that stuff. And so we really have to have a sober discussion about that. And no one in Washington really wants to do that. And the reason is because it's like the third rail of politics, right? If you talk about any of that kind of stuff, it's just like you're done. But I think we need to have a real discussion, because otherwise Detroit is our future, right? If you just keep burying your head in the sand, eventually it breaks, right? And what the break looks like is the 1930s Great Depression. This would make that look mild, really, honestly. When the bubble burst on the Federal Reserve and all the printing and all the debt that we have, everybody is going to suffer dramatically. And it's not just going to be Americans, it's going to be the whole world, because we're the world reserve currency, right? So it's going to be a global depression, and it will be bad.
Yeah, I would assume that if we go, assuming the economy doesn't crash, if we go along the same track we are, the way that they deal with entitlement obligations is to pay it off with funny money. And so they're going to give you what you were promised.
Yes.
But those dollars aren't going to be worth anything. So you'll be filling wheelbarrows full of currency to buy a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Which has in fact happened.
Yeah, 100%. And I've often said that part of the way the government is going to get out of the entitlement situation is to inflate their way out of it, right? Exactly that. They're going to pay back the money, but you're not going to be able to do anything with the money. The solution that I think that we have that could fix this, right, is we need to grow our economy. We need to grow GDP. If we grow GDP dramatically, then the tax revenues that we're getting right now would more than pay for these situations that we have, right? So I feel like the opportunity that we have is to really like power the engine of America. And to do that, we need to, there's a whole slew of things that we need to do. But I really feel like we could get GDP to 4 or 5%, and that would really fix a lot of these entitlement programs and pay the things that we promise people.
That is actually basically make America great again type of, it's a different way to get there. But, just like with many math problems, there's more than one way to solve it, and you get to the same answer. And that's basically the Trump and Steve Bannon make America great again argument. That's probably why a lot of times you see these Republicans, and especially MAGA, they get sensitive about libertarians, because there's overlap. And they're worried about disaffected Republicans, disaffected MAGA people going to libertarians. And I think they've got to really be worried about that right now. With the Israel, right now, most libertarians have a better take than MAGA. Now I'm ex-MAGA, like a former MAGA. I do not rock with MAGA at all. That's a fundamental difference. I don't have beef. I mean, it's where we agree, we still agree. And that's only like one thing, but it's pretty big. If you're going to put Israel over the country without any type of way, without being able to articulate why, that's a fundamental thing where we don't have to have beef or anything like that, but just we are in different sections. And libertarians have a better take. They're anti-war, so they're really against any type of war. And that's Lars there. This is his website. Lars24.com has the best website. Very simple to LARS24.com. Ballot access reform, proportional representation, eliminate the federal law preventing multi-member districts, and empower Americans to have their vote counted instead of winner-take-all elections. I don't like that. Wait, what are we talking about here? That sounds like, is he for, Ranked choice voting. Oh, that's ranked choice voting. I mean, that's not going to be. Jordan Law. Is that? I hate to, because do you like Lars, Eric Smith? I'm not feeling that. That sounds like ranked choice voting to me. And then it's not on the website, so it looks like he didn't have courage to say it. That's ranked choice voting he's talking about. No, that's not good. That doesn't work for me. I have a whole thing where I broke down ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is a way to get people off of what you consider extremes, and you get incentivized to have the most moderate milquetoast take out there. Now, there's different types of ranked choice voting, so I have to hear what he's saying, but I'm just not for it. I think we're fine with the way we've got it set up. I've not seen any ranked choice voting that I respect. Ranked choice voting is just a way for the establishment to guarantee their spot. It's a way to really compound the money spent on corporate politicians, because all the money spent on each corporate politician together means something in ranked choice voting. It doesn't as much separate. When you have primaries, I don't know if he's against primaries. I would need to flesh that out. That is a disqualifying take for me. If he is for ranked choice voting, that is a disqualifying choice. When you talk about just a system that's just ranking them, I know a lot of people think that helps. I haven't seen proof of that. So I would need to filter that one out. I'm very, very strongly against ranked choice voting. I have a whole, maybe I should rehash that. Eric Smith says, feeling him for first date, but I don't like ranked choice voting. Eric Smith doesn't like that either. So, and I'm not feeling him that much. So this is like one of those first dates. Hey, Eric Smith, I'm like, excuse me, I gotta go to the bathroom, Lars. And I'm not coming back, bro. This is one of those type of first dates where it's like, okay, where, the date's like, oh, I gotta go do my makeup, or they don't say that, but I gotta go use the bathroom. Then 10 minutes later, you're like, where's my date at? And then the waiter comes back and like, I saw that girl you were with. She left. We mean, where's your date at? She probably on the subway by now, bro. Here's the check, though. Nah, I'm good, man. I'm good on that. But there's no diss. I mean, it's just we don't agree on that one. I'm sure there's other stuff we agree on. But, yeah, we'll go on to the next one. I guess that date didn't work out, huh? Is that it? Wait, no, I have one more. Chase. How can I forget Chase? Chase has been here and done that. Chase is one of the most. The thing about Chase Oliver is, I think Chase Oliver is the most experienced out of everybody here. Is that fair to say as far as running? Or I guess I don't know. I guess the most relevant to me out of running. He ran for Senate in Georgia and caught my attention a little bit. And let's look at Chase Oliver. I'm not saying that I'm a big supporter or anything like that. I just know who he is. Let's just get that straight. Joshua Smith is the only one that I would say, yeah, I absolutely. I'm a Joshua Smith guy right now. Let me just say that out there. It's very early, but I am. But let's look at Chase. This is about Chase right now. This is the last one to cover.
We have 20th century politicians who have been running the 21st century mechanisms of government for my entire adult life, and it's time for that to stop. And the people are getting tired of it. Rise up, because we will not be silenced.
Instead of just talking about liberty, we go across the country, reaching out to activists to show what liberty in action actually looks like. That's the kind of campaign for president we're running. One that shows us the positive, aspirational message of liberty that voters can connect with.
All people are free. They have inherent freedom and liberty.
We support liberty 100% unfiltered all the time.
I've gotten tear gas in the streets while I protest for justice reform. My generation is the generation that got sent to fight the war on terror. My generation is the generation that had the entire real estate market fall out from underneath us right as we were getting started. It's my generation that is right now trying to raise families all over the country with massive runaway inflation.
This is not a left versus right issue. This is a right versus wrong issue. The Chase Oliver President campaign will be pulling no punches. We'll be putting a bold message of liberty forward that voters can identify with. We'll be exposing the two-party system for who they are. Are you actually reading the bills, or are you just taking Chuck Schumer's word for it when you vote on these things? I will fight like hell to make sure that each and every one of you is replaced.
We libertarians, we want to enter this race to be a check against the two-party system and to give you somebody honest to vote for.
Why is that the radical idea, not the rational idea?
Nobody will buy and pay for a libertarian. We don't just blow with the political winds with whatever's popular. We stand on principle. And I say as a libertarian, we do not believe in the initiation of force.
Take the boot off of our neck, support freedom, and support the people. Thank you very much. I'm Chase Oliver, a candidate for president, and I approve this message.
So one of the unique things that's Chase Oliver, one of the new, I remember he said something like armed and gay or something like that when he was running. So that's one of the unique things about him as a libertarian, that he's proudly, I think he's the only one that I'm seeing here that would, rock the rainbow. And that's not necessarily, that's not a, deal breaker like ranked choice voting is for me. I don't know where he stands on ranked choice voting. But the thing about the rainbow is that I would want to make sure that, I don't know where he stands on this, that the rainbow, everything has to come after your territory or country. You can't put the rainbow or immigration. See, that's the thing. That's the real question I have about the open borders thing with, was it Termont? I forget which one, that has the open borders policy. You've got to put your territory, the needs and issues. Nobody has a right to come into your territory. So if you've got, and I think America's been great, that's why I'm here, to allow people to come here, but that's not a right. You don't have a right to come through. And we got to look at this, because the problem that we've had with the rainbow flag isn't the rainbow flag. Black Lives Matter is not really Black Lives Matter. The Palestinian stuff is not really Palestinian. It's the fact that it's Palestinian over the interests of America. That's the problem. Like, I do have a problem if people are in the street for a criminal crackhead who died of natural causes, overdose, rough life. It wasn't because of Chauvin. We know that pretty much now. But you go in the streets for that, but then you've got Owen Schroyer, who is in prison. They say it's not the First Amendment, but why are they saying it's in part because he said 1776 and gets locked up in solitary confinement, and you have no energy for that? It doesn't. That's clearly you've put something else above. And I challenge Mag in the same way with the Black Lives Matter, because I brought up Ashley Babbitt. And I was like, with the George Floyd take, Steve Bannon's take on that was America first. He was like, forget about how he died. He didn't even get into how he died. So the news now doesn't even change Steve Bannon's take. Steve Bannon had an American first take and said, damn it, if we had factories here in this country, who knows if he would have had a lake house in upper Minnesota or whatever, making six figures. Who knows if he would have had that type of life. That's America first in answering any type of issue. And if you put the rainbow above it, then I have a problem. So I don't know. I don't know where he's at. It's not a disqualifier, but this is his website here. It is votechaseoliver.com, what Chase stands for. So he's got immigration on here. His immigration take is, we need a president that will break the partisan logjam, bring people together. And he said that immigrants built this country and they can help. It's very generic. It doesn't really show what his true take is on it, but it's a complicated topic. Empowering people through justice reform. I think it's obvious we need reform. It's just the answers are difficult. Ending mandatory minimum sentencing. I'm not an expert on that topic, so I can't comment too much. Innocent compel some. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, this is what happened with Jenna Ellis, really. when he said, this is kind of what happened with Jenna Ellis. I don't know if it comes under the mandatory minimum, but I mean, let's put aside that Jenna Ellis might be in on it just to get after Trump. Let's say Jenna Ellis is not in on it to get after Trump. She gets rolled up in this RICO charge, and she agrees to plead guilty to aiding and abetting on false statements that she knows aren't false because she wants to avoid the possibility of lengthy incarceration. So I think that addresses that. Making it easier to get to work. Keep the government out of your way. I do like that. The government does have to be there as a check and balance to private industry, but for the most part, staying out of the way. Failed war on drugs. It's got to be fully. It just frustrates me to see areas that have legalized marijuana but still a black market. It's hard because neighboring states might not have it fully legal, so that's why there's a black market. But we've got to as long as there's a black market like that, like fostering, something's wrong. I mean, I know you have a black market for guns. You're going to always have a black market. But right now, I think the black market for drugs that are legalized, marijuana, it's still too substantial. Something's off there. Respecting, defending your right to privacy, civil liberties. Warrantless wiretaps, FISA courts, yeah. Basically Patriot Act type stuff. Ending wars, supporting peace. I like a lot of this. So, I like a lot of this. Chase is resonating with me here. Respecting individual choice on tough issues. Probably abortion, yep. I think I'm with him on abortion. He said he wants it. Well, leaving these decisions out of the hands of the government, yep. I am pro-choice. I am pro-choice as well. We'll support efforts to protect. I'm really pro whatever your territory wants, though. I'm pro-choice, but if Florida doesn't want to be pro-choice, I'm for that. That's what their state wants or doesn't want. Empower parents and students, ending the student debt crisis. So all these I like. I like this. Champion gun rights. So to me, this is putting country or territory rights above anything else. So I don't have a problem with the rainbow flag with that. I don't have a problem with the religion, if you're Hindu or not obviously not the Chase is, but I think people were talking about with Vivek. So cool. That's all I had. I do have a lot of other topics, but I got to get some sleep. I got to get up early, and because I put some stuff off for work, I got to get up early, and I want to get that done before people start getting into the office. So believe it or not, I'm just going to take a little nap. And then it's better to take a nap and then get up, for me at least, and get up in there. There's so many other topics I want to get into. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's so tempting, but I got to lay that out properly. Let me know, what do y'all think about the Libertarians? I'll be honest, the biggest takeaway is that it's a disappointing. It does seem disappointing. Let's just talk about the truth of it. I think ultimately, though, no matter who it is, I'm going to see who it is, get to know them better, and do the best that I can to, if I agree with them, if I'm not against them. It sounds like none of these people are really that bad. Even Lars with the ranked choice voting, I'm not going to let that get in the way. Say he was the candidate. I'm not going to let that get in the way of kind of spreading his message and supporting the word on the areas where we agree. You heard him in that clip. There's a lot that we agree on there. So I think it's ultimately on us to be open-minded. Do not get into, what did I call them? Perceived contenders or something like that? I already forgot. Man, my memory is... I'm like John Fetterman, man. My brain is just... I'm like a black John Fetterman. That's who I should have been for Halloween. I should have just been a black... I feel like I can't even make fun of John Fetterman anymore. I don't have the standing. I know I can count to 10, but I'm a little bit above John Fetterman. I still know the alphabet, but it's not like I'm miles ahead of John Fetterman. I'm just a black John Fetterman in my basement, man. I feel you, John. Somebody ran up on John Fetterman today, and he couldn't understand the question, allegedly, and just let his bodyguard push him. A guy asked John Fetterman a question, and he got pushed away from him like he was going to do something violent. A question is worth you as a citizen getting hauled up out of there like you're some type of, threat. Unbelievable. But yeah, I was Steve Urkel we had a Halloween party. I don't know if I don't think I'm gonna dress up it's gonna be cold out there. What's the point? I'm gonna have a big coat on. But I was Steve Urkel. Maybe I'll show a picture. It looked really bad. So my wife took a picture. I might show one, but not now, but at some other time. But we had the glasses with the wraparound band, and I left my glasses upstairs. But I was like, I was telling her Fs. I give 0 Fs. Okay, I think my internet conked out for a second, but I give 0 Fs. So I will rock that band at some point. It's very convenient to have the glasses on that, the band in the back of your neck so you can just hang them down like an old professor or just an old nerd or something. So I had that, and then I had the suspenders, wore the pants up high, cuffed them with the white, and then wore some loafers. I'm not a big Halloween person, but since we were going to a party. Yeah, the internet went out. Am I still up? Yeah, it went out for a second. What's up, TNT Cycle? Jordan Lott says, it seems the top 4 well-known candidates are Trump, Biden, Cornel West, and Kennedy. Let me know if I'm still up. Because it did conk out for a second. It's a sign that I need to get out of here. That's what it is. Maybe it's out for good. I don't even have a monitor up. But no, it wasn't you. Yeah, it was the internet. But I'll be out here. That was cool. We'll get more in depth. I'm following them on X, and I'm going to have a section on X, a list with just them, so I can keep up. And let's go. Let's get it. It's up to us to give the alternative. The name. What did I call it? It was a perceived contender, or as Jordan put it, the dudes with the most money. Cornel West is up there. His campaign's kind of all over the place. And I saw him marching for Palestine. I'm not really for that. I'm America first, bruh. Like, what are you marching for Palestine for? Why are you in the street for Palestine? Like, are you running for president of the U.S. or what? He's in the street marching for Palestine. What? Now, if he was in the street marching for peace, and I guess you could say that he's in the street march. I guess you could say he's marching for peace. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just not good enough for me, man. That's just not where my energy is. Here's the. I don't like these. I don't like these optics, man. So that's where, I said the left is better on it, but the left they're not good on this topic either. They're not good. They don't come from it from America's standpoint. This is. Did my internet go out again? What's going on?
Yes. I wish you could see how beautiful you look from here. But let the word go forth here and now that we stand with our brothers and sisters and siblings dealing with unbelievable assault and attack, genocidal on the one hand, but 75 years of it, and we still stand tall. They still stand tall, because anytime.
My nigga, go on somewhere with that bullshit. Fuck. Care about a Palestinian 7,000 miles away. What the hell are you doing over here in LA talking about Palestine? Get the hell out of here. I guess I was gonna leave. I can't leave a live on a happy note, can I? I miss the days when the live was just happy go lucky. I'm an extremist now. If you didn't know that bullshit, I don't have time for it. You're on a stage pumped up with energy about Palestine. Get the hell up out of here. What the hell does Palestine care about you and our country here and the problems we got here? What the hell? Get the hell up out of here with that. It's just as bad as pro-Israel. Both of those Semites can go on somewhere. I don't give a damn about none of them. What the hell that got to do with me? I don't care about the oil fields out there either. What the hell? What good are the oil fields for when you cut off the oil here? We got oil here. Why are we worried about the oil fields over there? Robert Barnes was worried about the nuclear because Israel got nukes. Okay. They better protect them nukes. That's not good enough. Robert Barnes was like, you gotta, basically, Robert, and I like Robert Barnes. We just flatly disagree on this. He's like, well, you don't want Hamas to get nukes now, do you? Well then Israel better handle that. They surrounded by a bunch of foxes looking to get inside, and Israel's the rabbit right now, so you better figure that out. The nuclear weapon's just 2A for countries. So do I want Hamas to get a nuke? No, but I'm not paying any money, don't want any military over there. Get the military up out of there. A lot of countries got nukes. This nigga up in here talking about we stand with our with brothers. What the are you crazy, my nigga?
The word goes forth here and now that we stand with our brothers and sisters.
What does that mean? Why is a Palestinian my brother or sister? Now, I'm not saying they should be enemies. I'm just neutral. I'm apathetic. Oh, thank you, Eric Smith. $5 super chat says, good job, Osiris. I took away your loser bet. Okay, give me the winner bet. Eric Smith. But I appreciate you, man. We're going to have disagreements. I think that was on the DeSantis. Wasn't it, Eric Smith? Was that on the DeSantis impeached? I still stand on that. I haven't heard any better ideas. But I appreciate you. Eric Smith, a great friend of the show. I would say longtime friend of the show now. $5 super chat. Thank you. And that's the kind of environment I want, is like we can disagree and not be and still be cool, interacting. There's no need to be contentious or anything like that. And I always leave room to be wrong. If somebody has a better idea as to why Ron DeSantis shouldn't be impeached, I am all ears. I have not been convinced yet. I will change my mind in a heartbeat. I'll change my mind like that. Sometimes I'll say, ooh, you got a good idea. Maybe I'll sleep on it, but I'll change my mind if I need to change my mind. Same with this. What is this? With Palestinian flags? Since when are they my brothers? What does that mean? Like they're my allies now or what? They couldn't care less about what's happening. They don't know what's happening in my country. I don't expect them to. They couldn't care less. They're not anything to me, man. Why are we worried about them? It's just like, man, stick to America first, bro. Like, even if you are on the left side, you can talk about this issue from the standpoint of Americans. What is this? I don't even know what that is, man. I don't know where you're going with that, why that's an issue. Just, do you see the problem I have with them? It's like on the left, they have to do that. If he doesn't do that, he gets criticized. And that's why Anna Kasparian, I don't know where she stands on the Palestinian stuff, but I think that's part of the reason why Anna Kasparian was like, I can't do this because I have to take a position. I have to be the same as Emma Vigeland, even if I'm not. In order to, Emma does whatever she needs to do to keep this leftist card. And like, it's the same thing as this Black Iman card. And like, I'm not gonna have a take just to keep you have the card, take the card. I'm not worried about it. I'm not my take is not going to be revolving around keeping some invisible, oh, I'm a lefty card. Same with libertarians. I don't give a damn about any no libertarian party or if I'm a true libertarian or not. Here's my take. Here's the best idea. Give me a better idea. I don't care if it's libertarian or not to you. One of that came up with the free speech stuff. So they're in the streets. The black Israelites and the pro-Palestinian people, they're in the street throwing hands. And I'm like, that's why you need a permit to protest. Because, and there's these libertarians coming up to me asking, like, why would you need a permit? Well, this isn't the Second Amendment, number one. The Second Amendment is right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So no, you don't need a permit to keep and bear arms. Free speech is completely different. You're not going to get put in jail for your speech, but when you go out to a public sidewalk and say, I got 200 people who are black Israelites, and I go on to a sidewalk. Then someone else has 200 people who are pro-Palestinian, and for whatever reason, our groups disagree, and neither one of us have a permit. Nobody has more right to the sidewalk than the other. So we can come up to each other within inches of each other. Like, I have a right to be here. You have a right to be here. It's just like a parade. All those parades are permitted, so they block off the streets. Otherwise, nobody has more right to the street than me. I could just walk in the middle of the parade if it's not permitted, because you don't have any right to the street more than I do. It's a public street, unless it's private. So you do have to get that permitted through the government. If the government cannot be trusted, I don't blame you. You got to sue. You got to impeach. I mean, you've got different ways to hold people accountable. If you try to go to the city and say, hey, I got 200 people, I'm black Israelites, I want to be on the sidewalk at this time. If they say no, they better have a damn good reason. There are reasons why they could say no. One, no, pro-Palestinians have that day. You have to pick a different part of the city or a different day because I don't want you two having beef. Or you could say, hey, we don't have the police. We can't guarantee the safety, so we can't do the permit. There's got to be some, and then if you can't, if there's like doubt in that, then you have to take them to court or just impeach or whatever. But you've got to have a permit. A lot of times they don't do a permit and let it go. But for example, you can't get 200 people and block a highway. You don't have a right to jaywalk on a highway just because you have free speech. I don't know why I have to explain that. That's just common sense. You can't run a society like that. The right to free speech doesn't mean you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Just like you can yell fire in a crowded theater, but if something happens after that, you can be held accountable for it. You're not going to go to jail because you yelled fire in the theater, but you could get put to jail if there's everybody who leaves and they trample and someone gets hurt, or in maybe jail or definitely civil. But you can't have peace saying you can protest just like J6. J6 was permitted. You couldn't have J6 with damn near, I don't know, some people said 1 million people went down there, whatever large amount of people without the police ready and all that, it'd just be chaos. But I brought that up to say, I don't care if you think that's libertarian or not. That's just, common sense. Now, I do protect the right if we break down into territories for your country or your state or your territory to say you don't need a permit. Go ahead and do that, but I'm not going to be in your state, probably. Because if something pop off, you're not going to be ready for it. Ray Sue says you can't be jailed for speech, but you can be jailed for call to action. Yeah, I have to look at those laws. That's what they got Trump on, basically, isn't it? It's stochastic terrorism. It gets hairy there, but yeah, you're right. There's a time when it crosses the line. I have to look into that. That gets really into an area that I need more research on. What qualifies as a call to action? Like if you say, what's the Palestinian phrase, from the land to the sea or whatever, from the land to the sea? Basically saying they want all of Palestine there, including Israel. Is that a call to action? I mean, that's another country, but I don't know if that's a call to action. See, I don't know. This gets really hairy there. Yeah, Owen is in jail for speech. Yeah, they tried to say it's not, but it is. It's absolutely for speech. And I don't need to see Cornel West. If Dr. Cornel West was authentic, I would like to hear his take on that. Steve Bannon had a take on George Floyd. Like, a true populist has a take on all this stuff. It might be different than yours, but they live in a world where they talk about, it happens a little bit on the right where there's issues that they talk about that we don't, especially with like unions and stuff. But and I say we should. I mean, we should be more knowledgeable on those. But I don't know how Dr. Cornel West doesn't have a take on Owen Schroyer. I haven't heard it if he has a take on it. I think Jimmy Dore does. See, that's why I said I'm for Jimmy Dore. What's Jimmy Dore on is he pro-Palestinian? I think Jimmy Dore is America first. I wonder where he's at on the Palestinian stuff. See, that's what happens when I had multiple coffees, so now I'm up. I got to get to bed. But let me just see what Jimmy Dore's, I haven't seen his videos in a minute. Did you know there was a huge Lahaina fire in 2018? Oh, no, I didn't know that. New House Speaker is bad news for Ukraine war. We don't know that either. U.S. claims self-defense. Cornel West's campaign manager, yeah, that was a bad one. A mess over there. I mean, wow, I don't see a lot of videos on Israel, which is, I respect. Wait.
So this is another story about Lahaina I want to talk about.
Remember
in
that was
2018,
Craig Pasta filled in. The homie, Convo Couch. He's great. Yeah, so I have to look into, I don't see any Israel on here. Not the U.S. Guess what the new House Speaker says first priority? Wow. Let me listen to a little. Oh, that's Craig. That's Pasta. So Jimmy's probably out. I think Kim Iverson's pretty pro-Palestinian. I don't know. But yeah, it looks like Jimmy hasn't talked about, at least on the videos I saw there. Oh, Jimmy is very pro-Palestinian. Oh, God. Jimmy quit pot, so he's struggling lately. Is that true, Barton Bella? I didn't know that. Barton Bella says Jimmy quit pot. I mean, I'm not. Maybe it's not funny. But yeah, good for him if he wants to quit. That's the homie. So Jimmy's very pro-Palestinian. Now, would he be in the streets like saying I stand with Palestinians? Like Cornel West? Because Jimmy's definitely more America first than Cornel West. Brad Green, a Libertarian candidate in Utah, funded flights for some people to be at January 6th. Okay. That's good. I used to really love Cornel, but he's lost the plot. Yeah, for me, he's completely lost. He's like a caricature of what a leftist candidate would be. Under the Constitution and Bill of Rights, we are lower magistrates, and we are not, this is Nate Memes, and we not only have the right, but an obligation to overthrow a tyrannical government or start our own. Absolutely. That is part of our duty. That is really a part of our duty. But cool. All right, y'all. I'm going to be out, and I will... Oh, Ray Studios and I, we're going to do a live tomorrow night. So, Ray, I'll hit you up. I want to do other topics, but Ray wants to talk. This is a hot topic we want to talk about with the WEF, but we're going to do a bunch. I'll hit you up, Ray. I'll text you. I have a bunch of short-hitting topics I want to get to because I'm behind on a lot of stuff that's big popping off. Oh, so thank you. Eric Smith got another super chat. Brandenburg versus Ohio Supreme Court test is your standard, and that's your That you're talking about the protests. I've talked about that case. Actually, I have to restudy it. I'll have to restudy it. I don't have a good memory. Let me look at Brandenburg versus Ohio real quick. Let me refresh my memory on this. This is the KKK one. Let's look at the facts of the case. I forget how they ruled and everything on this one. Let me take a look. Thank you, Eric Smith. This is the case. He said this is the one we want to talk about. So a leader in the KKK, I remember this. I probably just talked about this case. I already forgot. Made a speech at a Klan rally and was later convicted under an Ohio criminal syndicalism law. The law made illegal advocating crime, sabotage, violence, as well as assembling with any society group or assemblage of persons formed to teach or advocate the doctrines of criminal syndicalism. I still don't remember what this was about. The question: did Ohio's criminal syndicalism law prohibiting public speech that advocates various legal activities violate Brandenburg's right to free speech as protected? I don't remember this. No, actually. The court's per curiam opinion held that the Ohio law violated Brandenburg's right to free speech. The court used two-pronged test to evaluate speech acts. Speech can be prohibited if it is directed at inciting or producing. Okay, now I remember this part. Or is likely to incite. Can I look this up with, I forgot if it was stochastic terrorism or what it was. Maybe it was with Trump. The Criminal Syndicalism Act made illegal the advocacy and teaching of doctrines while ignoring whether that or not that advocacy and teaching would actually incite imminent lawless action. So I have to really study that. This is a good one. Thank you, Eric Smith. Maybe I should do it again so it sticks in my head. I don't always agree with the ruling, so I don't really use this as they set this. Just like we had Roe v. Wade. I don't always agree with them, but this is a good case to look at. So this isn't really the battling on the sidewalk. This is more the incitement. So that's the one that would decide, hey, what's incitement or not. So perfect. Thank you, Eric Smith, for that. Always good, man. Got the best chat out there. If you want to continue the conversation, and let me give you the Discord link if you want to continue the conversation. Got a great Discord popping off. Appreciate y'all. Put the Discord in the chat. Appreciate y'all. I'm out. Peace. Good night. Good night. Good night. Let me put that in the chat before I go out. Good night. Let's get Monday started right. Let's feel good and get some sleep.